In today's episode, we're going to cover the KHG, Automated Alkalinity Tester and Doser. Basically, the future's here. Watch on if you want to learn some more. Alright, welcome to Parker's Reefs. Today's episode I'm going to be taking you through the KH Guardian, the Automated Alkalinity Tester and Controller. These devices have been on the market for a couple of years now, and I actually run 3 of them. I've been setting a couple up for a few friends lately, and I'm still kind of surprised by how little people know about them, so I thought, while I got this one here, I can do a bit of a video on it and give you all a bit of an insight as to how it works and what it does. So, ignoring the professional additional on the box, it normally is quite a professional device. Give you a bit of a live unboxing. You get a notification telling you to download the latest manual and to check your firmware. Let's have a look. You'll get a power supply. You'll get a packet of reagent. Now this is basically an acidic formula that you mix with 1500 grams of RODI water. And of course you get the KH Guardian itself. Now before I go into too much detail, I'll give you a little explanation as to basically how it works. If you're watching this at home and you've got a reef tank and you most likely, or hopefully, you do alkalinity tests fairly frequently, you'll know that it's a pretty easy test. Varies from brand to brand, but essentially you normally go about a couple of mil of tank water, and then you add a reagent to it, drop by drop. You've got to count the drops until it changes color. That's essentially what this device does, with a couple of major differences. It doesn't look for a change in color, it looks for a change in pH. And instead of you counting the drops, it counts the drops. So this little black tube here, which is held on by a fiberglass reinforced tape just for shipping, you can take that off, but they're kind of handy to hold on there, just make sure it stays there. This essentially is your test tube. There's 3 dosing pumps here and 1 dosing pump built in there. One of these brings water from the tank into the chamber. One takes water out of the chamber into the drain. Normally I recommend putting into your skimmer cup. And the third one will pump alkalinity solution, normally like a Randy's recipe, from a storage into your tank once it's calculated your alkalinity. If it's low, it'll top it off. This final one here, this different looking dosing pump, it's different looking for a reason, because it does really small amounts. It doses your reagent, this mixture, once you've put 1500 grams of RO water with it. It doses that drop by drop into the chamber, and it's kind of hard to see here, but there's a little sight window here, and you'll actually be able to see drop by drop going through, and there's a sensor behind there that watches and actually counts the number of drops going through. And that's where the KH Guardian differs from other options on the market at the moment, in that it doesn't just rely on knowing that if it turns a dosing pump so far it's going to deliver 1 drop. You and I would both probably know that that's maybe not always that reliable. I'm sure mathematically or by the book it should be reliable, but sometimes it's nice to be able to actually count the drops, particularly when we're trying to replicate what we do when we're testing alkalinity ourselves. So yeah, to run through what a test does, and I'll get some footage of one of my units actually doing it. You log into the unit, you tell it how many litres your tank is, what KH you're aiming for, how often you want it to test. Now these units can test I think up to every 30 minutes. I have my set to test every 2 hours. It sounds drastic and over the top when you're used to testing maybe once or twice a week, but once you've got one of these units, testing a couple of hours, every couple of hours is fantastic. Okay, so this is one of my KH Guardians set up and running on my tank. You can see that currently the pH in the chamber, which is the black section here, is 7.3. When it's not doing a test, don't read into that. That doesn't mean my tank water is 7.3. That just means that's what the pH probe is currently reading. When it starts doing a test and water goes in there, you'll see the pH number drop. That's when you know it's doing something. The standby in 12 means that it's in standby mode. Funny about that. That's the IP address that showed, date and time. And the 12, or now 11, means it's going to do a test in 11 minutes. KH 7.42 obviously equates to the last KH test this one did, which was obviously DKH at 7.42. Now, a couple other things to note with this one. I run a little Wi-Fi repeater on this because I don't have a network cable here. This huge tub here is alkalinity reservoir for this Guardian, and this Voss bottle back here is from my reagent, which is getting a little bit low. Alright, so we can see the CM. That just means that it's clearing out the chamber at the moment, so it'll do that for a count. This runs the pump. Which pump is it? The bottom one here. Runs this one, which just drains out this to make sure it's completely empty. I think that runs for maybe 20 seconds. And if I take you up here, you can see that it's pumping waste into my skimmer cup. 25 seconds it seems. Alright, now SW is salt water coming in. That's drawing water from the orange saltwater line. It'll run that for varying amounts of time depending on how much pumping it takes to fill up the chamber. It's normally, I can say, around 120. AL means that there's a little stir bar in there that spins around. That's just swirling the solution around, just like you do when you're doing an alkalinity test, but it's just cleaning out and flushing this chamber to make sure there's no residue from the last test we did. So now it's emptying the chamber again after pumping in that last slot and swirling it around. So it'll do this for, was it 20 seconds? 25 perhaps? 20. Alright, so we should get salt water coming in again, which we do. This will run for approximately 125 steps again until that chamber down here fills up. Okay. Now you would have saw the little red light down here flashing. That's the little sensor that looks for the flashes. Looks for the drops of effluent. Okay, now that strange little like robot-like noise that's running now, that is this pump. And you can see the red light flashing. That's every time it catches a drop of reagent. And you might hear a slight hum as well. That's the stir bar running. You can also hear my automatic water change running in the background now. You see basically with every drop of reagent that's going in, it's counting the alkalinity up. So this will run for a minute. I'll probably speed the footage up. Once we get to something that's a little more interesting, I'll start talking again. You may have noticed that the pH in the chamber has dropped a little already. Alright, as we're getting a bit closer, you'll note, look at my finger on the screen there, it's up to K30 now, which means it's done 30 drops of reagent. You'll also see the pH is 6.5, it's just dropped to 6.0. It gets pretty close. Once it gets a bit closer to its marker it calculates, we'll see that this changes to A, B, and C. That's much like when you're doing the alkalinity test manually yourself, and you see that it's getting close to that color change. You see we've just gone to A now. And it's just got to do a couple more drops just till it gets right onto that point of change, and then it knows that's exactly where the DKH is. So now it's just running, it's just stirring the solution and just looking to see if there's a test. It's happy that the KH is 7.4. So now what the unit will do is it's saved that setting. Now it's going to clear the chamber out. It's going to pump that solution into my skimmer cup. It is completely safe to pump into your tank, but being an acidic sort of formula, I'm happy to, I've got the skimmer cup right there, which is hard to onto the drain. I'm going to collect it in that just to be safe. Now it'll pump some clean salt water in just to give it another flush while it's there. Should be about 123. Perfect. It's got to do a little swirl to make sure that it's picked up everything in the chamber. It'll pump that out again. Now what we should see is I've got the alkalinity of this tank set to 7.5. Now the fact that we got a test result of 7.4 should mean that we see it pump some of the alkalinity solution over to the left there into the tank. And it'll show us a little value based on the calculation it's done to work out. It's still doing its salt water pumping back in just to make sure that it's cleaned out all the solution from that chamber. That's actually a configurable value. You can change the wash rate. It can be between, I'm not sure what the maximum is. I know the default is 2, you can set it to 1. So you can see now NaH, it's going to add so much sodium chloride. That's how many micro steps of the motor. And that's pumping that into the tank for me. Now the unit will reset. Tells me the firmware number, that's the local IP address. And it should then give us the status. It's going to make sure it's got the latest network time. And there we go. So currently the pH in the chamber has just gone up to 6 or 5.86, 5.9, it's hovering around there. It's because the chamber's dry, don't worry about that. The last test was 7.40, and stand by another 119 minutes, we'll do another test. So yeah, that's it. I'll show you how we can access those results on the web interface, or how you can connect that to an Apex or something like that if you wish to use that data for something else. So yeah, stay tuned. Alright, so here we are in the online interface. You can access this from computer or tablet or phone. You've got a few options here, so you can manually force it to do a test, you can empty the chamber, you can purge the salt water inline, you can purge the reagent line. You can test the alk dosing pump, you can test the stir bar. If you have an error, you can reset the machine here, you can refresh or reboot it. Display record we'll go into in a second, shows all your results. Line chart I'll show you as well. And then finally you can go into your system setup where you check all of your settings. And yeah, like I said, you can access this from anywhere. Here we go, let's have a look at the system setup. There's a heap of options here. I recommend reading the manual because they make a lot more sense there, but basically allows you to dial in the settings you're after, and yeah, have your machine set to automatically dose alkalinity. If we go into the display record, which is this button here, it'll give you the full history of all the tests you've done. I'll scroll through some of these. The screen recording I've done doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the screen, so can't see them all there, but you see a couple errors there where I actually had the salt water line come out of the tank, but you can see a number of results there. We were pretty consistent. I have to admit I've been fiddling with my calcium reactor after having a bottle run out and changing media, so I've been chasing a bit of stability, but the Guardian's helped a lot. In fact, this graph here shows it pretty well. So that's the line chart graph. You can see obviously when my bottle ran out and my KH started to drop. And then when I put the bottle back in, it's ramped up probably a bit quick for my likings, and I'm just bringing it back a little bit of stability now. And you can also see the uptake of elk each day, pretty much when I dose Chloral Essentials. So I got a little jump there. The line looks a little bit aggressive, but it's actually pretty consistent. And at the same time each day, the alkalinity is almost spot on. And throughout the day, it's only varying a little bit. So everything's working really well. All right, so I guess we should do a bit of a wrap up on the KH Guardian and see what I think about it. Personally, haven't used these devices for a couple of years now. It's one of those things that you struggle to go without now. I'll be sitting at work and I just get curious about what my current alkalinity is, and just knowing that it's testing it every couple of hours and keeping it right on point, and having the ability to check to see if something's gone wrong, either too low elk or too high elk, is just worth its weight in gold. That being said, these things they're not set and forget. It's not like you can, they're not cheap, but well, they're getting a lot cheaper. But it's not like you can buy one and set it up and forget about it for a year and just log in every now and then. They do require a little bit of upkeep, a little bit of maintenance. There's a lot of individual components. There's a lot of recalibration you need to do. When I say a lot, you probably need to allocate maybe, I don't know, 15 minutes a week just to check over it, and maybe every 2 months you want to give it a clean, recalibrate the pH probe in it, which is it's like a 10-minute job. It doesn't take long at all, but it's worth pointing out that these things are definitely not set and forget. So if you're looking to buy one to never have to do anything with alkalinity again, you'll be disappointed. However, if you're keeping a realistic mindset in that this is going to the time that you would spend testing alkalinity, you're going to spend 1/10 of that just maintaining this machine, and you're going to do a test every 2 hours instead of a test once a week, which is the reality of it. If that's where you're at, then you're going to be super happy with it. And the fact that these things used to be around over $2,000, and now they're down around the $1,000 mark, they're really becoming pretty affordable. It makes it difficult not to get one. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. They've got a fantastic forum, a support group on Facebook, because there are a few questions, people doing new things with these devices. They're like my integration with Siri, and people connecting up to Apex, people connecting up to Profilux, people connecting up to Reef Angel, people getting it working with their Apex to dose other elements whenever this doses things. All sorts of things you can do with them. We're really just starting to scratch the surface. So yeah, in my opinion, I love these devices. I run 3, a good buddy of mine runs a few other of my friends now run 1 each. So between us, we're starting to get pretty familiar with these, and we've got a few spare parts going about should we ever need them. Yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free to shout out below, and yeah, give me a thumbs up if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks guys, bye.